I wanted to ask you about Gary Neville and
my specialist subject, my friend. Thank you very much.
Other legends at the club that are just not really saying or doing too much right now.
Right, let me start on Gary Neville first, and I'll come to Rio in a minute, yeah? Right, and Scholesy, right? Gary Neville is the biggest hypocrite on TV in football. This is a guy who's bankrolling his way through the divisions. This is a guy who sacks managers for winning. And then he's sitting there retweeting Ole Gunnar Solskjaer signing autographs after the game. If I was Ole, I'd be embarrassed to even go and speak to them people. Yeah, not only that, them fans should have some standards, to be fair. Why are you asking for an autograph off a guy who's just got your team pumped 5-0? Absolutely pummeled 5-0, yeah, against that lot. Yeah, and you're standing there waiting. Oh, Ollie, can you sign my scarf? Like, turn it in. Yeah, but Gary Neville to be standing there like chatting absolute rubbish. And I listened to what he said after the game, and he's chatting rubbish. Like, the guy's got a conflict of interest. He said he'll never publicly ask for a manager to be sacked. Yeah, well, why are you there then? Why are you on TV giving your opinions? Because if they're not your opinions, you're biting your tongue because you've got a conflict of interest because he's your friend, and you're maybe trying to look for a way into the club yourself. Yeah, and it's like, this is why I don't always agree with getting ex-players of the last generation as pundits, because they've always got some real close connection to somebody at the club right now, manager, coach, player. Yeah, and they're never, ever. Martin Keown did it on TalkSport the other week, right? Fan phoned up and said, you were jumping all over Van Nistelrooy. I got your shirt that day. Yeah. So why are you sitting there chatting absolute rubbish about Arteta? Yeah. But Keown's a coach, I think, at Arsenal, right? Get off the fence, start saying as it is. And Keown said, and I quote, I will never publicly criticise the football club. Well, why are you on TalkSport then? Yeah, because if the club's going through 7, 6, 5, 4 games in a row where we've been battered, you're not going to criticise that. Well, I don't want to hear what you got to say then. Yeah, and it's like Gary Neville is exactly the same. Yeah, he is a disgrace. That guy is a disgrace. I don't care saying it, Terry. Yeah, that guy was standing there making out he was the saint of football. Yeah, when the Super League dropped, he works for a company, right, that were flogging games per game. Yeah, during a pandemic at £8, £9, £12, whatever it was, for Burnley, Southampton, and he's got the audacity to run his mouth. Nah, get in the bin. Get in the bin with him. Let me come to Rio. Another one. Yeah. The club ain't going to thank me. Ollie's at the wheel. Put all the numbers on there you want. Yeah. Blah, blah, blah. Then at the weekend, he's starting to run his mouth all over his Twitter account. Yeah. It's like, mate, you are part of the reason that guy is still in a job, because people like him, people like Neville, yeah, and Scholes, who I'm coming to in a minute, yeah, they sit there and they will never say it as it is, because, again, it's a conflict of interest. They either upset their friend or they won't get the job at the club. Yeah, and then it's a fine balance. I said this to Rance the other day, right? As a pundit and an ex-player of a great team that Neville and Ferdinand were, they're trying to play the balancing game, yeah? They want to keep all the fans on side because they don't want to be hated within their fan base, yeah? But they're mates with the manager, and they might try and get a job later down the road or be invited to do MUTV or something like that. So they've got to try and juggle all of this. The problem with both of them two is they've gone too far with it. Yeah, now a lot of fans have turned on them. Do you know what I'm saying? It's like Rio Ferdinand was one of the best centre-backs I've ever seen in my life. And he's sitting there sticking up for that performance. He's sitting there sticking up for all of these poor performances. Peter Schmeichel's another one. I watched him on BT Sport the other day. Like, what planet do these people live in, mate? Yeah, Scholes sitting there having a go at Pogba the other day. You were 5-0 down when he came on, weren't you? Or 4-0 down. How's it Pogba's fault? Pogba's probably the only one who could walk off of that pitch and say, boy, I did my job, mate. Yeah, I'm Ollie out. Yeah. Yeah, you want to throw me on 4-0 down? He should have been starting. And you put him on, he's gone and two-footed the geezer and gone sent off, and he walked off chest out like what? Yeah, fair play to Pogba because he's Ollie out. Yeah, he's got some standards.
Do you know what, though? Again, you go back to the Gary Neville thing. There's certain things that Gary Neville spoke about, especially when it's come to political stuff in the last 12 months, where I thought, yeah, do you know what? Really good on that. But you are right when it comes to the football side of things, you know, moaning about the money in the game, and then he works for Sky, and Sky charging people, try to do what they did with the charges for the games and everything else, the box office type charging, like awful. And of course said nothing because he's contractually not allowed to say anything. But it's like, get off your high horse when it comes to like other organizations exploiting people, because your company that you work for and get paid millions of pounds a year for does the same thing. I agree. Equally yesterday, and I'm not going to quote this word for word because I haven't looked at it again since, but blamed, essentially equated Man United fans calling for Ollie to be sacked, Tory and Boris Johnson's, the Boris Johnson era has made this happen. It's like, how, like, again, I'm not someone that's overtly politically charged, but it's like, I've seen what you've said about that political party and how bad a human beings you think they are. Yet you're comparing someone that thinks Ole Gunnar Solskjaer needs to lose his job because he's failed. You're literally comparing them to a political party who have like cut welfare and support to like some of the most vulnerable people in the country. Like, how misguided are you to do that to people? Honestly, one of the most embarrassing things I've ever seen somebody say. He sits there and talks about all the problems at the club, but doesn't focus on how and what's. The worst bit about it is, if the media can find out, if the journalists have found out all these things that are going wrong at the club in terms of McKenna trains a team one way all week and then Ollie makes them do different things on match day, these guys know. Yep. They can find this stuff out easy. They can make a few phone calls. They're in
group chats together,
they can get this stuff done. I understand being loyal to him. Then tell Sky Sports I can't cover Man United games because I can't give you my honest opinion. I would respect that more than you sitting there and giving us half the truth, half the information. Like, for me, it's embarrassing to see it. And the way they've kind of looked at fans, and it's been like, fans are only doing this online for clout. Fans are only doing this because it's fashionable. They don't know what they're talking about. What do you mean that we're talking about? Sky Sports started doing fan cams again. Why?
Yeah, they did. They did outside the ground.
They know how popular they are, because fan opinion is raw. It may not be the truth. We're not. The worst bit is we're not as informed as these people because we don't get the access.
I wonder if anyone went up to Sky Sports camera guy and tried nicking the camera and called in them toxic and all that. Do you know what I mean?
But no, I hear you. And I just look at the way the pundits have been. I called them out of my rant earlier on today, and I stand by it. I respect and love Ollie for what he's done for this football club. It even pains me to say negative things about Gary Neville, Paul Scholes, Rio, because these men made me so happy as a child and as a young man watching them play. But I can't sit back and allow my emotional feeling towards them to cloud what's really going on.
Yeah.
And that's the way they
and tell me, the older you've got, and the older I've got, the more I've realized that these ex-players are part of the problem. Righty's the same within our fan base. That guy tweets out, Cronky out. Why are you tweeting it, mate? You're the one twerking with the new shirts on every kit drop. Yeah, you're getting paid by the club to do that. Yeah, so you're not Cronky out, are you? Yeah, you sit on BT Sport and say one thing about Wenger, then the next night you're on Match of the Day and say the opposite. And it's like people believe these players, and these people are in a very powerful position because they're an ex-player of a football club, they're a great of a football club, right, or greats of football club, right? They've got a massive reach within the fan base, and their opinions are normally taken seriously by the fans. So to sit and say some of the stuff that them players have said over this weekend just gone is a disgrace. Yeah, it's a disgrace because they haven't got the best interests of Man United. Yeah, and Rant said this to me the other day. They don't support the club like you support it. They don't. They might have played for the club and they might have been a Man United fan and this and that when they're growing up and whatever, and they've played for the club. They don't support it like you do, Terry. Yeah, because they've been paid a fortune to be totally impartial on Sky, but now they're not impartial. Yeah, or BT, whatever it is. They're being paid millions of pounds to sit and be impartial. Yeah, that is their job, to say a balanced take on events at a football club or on said game that you're watching. Yeah, right. So when they're sitting there lying through their teeth, how can they support the club how you do? How many times has Gary Neville paid to go and watch Man United? How many times do these journalists pay to go and watch Man United? Yeah, so when these journalists sit there and start chatting rubbish as well, it's like, yeah, show us your receipts then, mate. Yeah, because you've paid. You've been to Old Trafford. Yeah, you've paid to get in. And it's like, that's why all of these people that are in journalistic jobs that ride or die for the manager, you're only doing it for the exclusive. I always believe that, yeah, because you ain't got our best interests at heart. Ex-players are the same. We got loads within both fan bases, both clubs. And then why is it pretty much every single top big account is always manager in? I've seen loads of Man United recently, the last couple of days, that have got 100,000 plus followers online, and pretty much every single one of them saying, well, I don't want to say Ollie out, but I do think that maybe he could possibly turn it around, or, oh yeah, but just by going and getting Conte, that's not the Man United way. Why is it all of these biggest accounts online do that? Because when you add in the ex-players with their reach, the journalists with their reach, and these massive accounts all over their reaches, put them all together, that's a big pool, mate.
It's gargantuan,
and people are very impressionable online.
It's gargantuan, and it's embarrassing to see. It's awful punditry, and it leads people down in the wrong direction. I do believe there's a Man United way of doing things, and that's to win. That the whole style thing. Yeah, again, if we could play swashbuckling, beautiful attacking football and win trophies, that's utopia. But winning is the most important thing that we can do as a football club. And with Ollie, not only are we not winning, we're no longer playing good football. And it's even more embarrassing this year because we have a squad that's the best, in my opinion, we've had since we last won the Champions League in 2008.